There's a bit of a fire here. We got stuck. I'm a person who is very, very interested in prayer. I don't know, for some reason, I gravitate towards prayer, and maybe a bit of background, maybe being born in Africa and witnessing firsthand suffering and trouble and pain and all the challenges that come with what dictators have done in this continent. So, for years, as a Christian, as a born again person, the thing that you really did was to pray, was to trust God for what you can't. Because you couldn't. I grew up in East Africa, in Uganda. You couldn't trust the government to sort out the education system or the health system or the roads or bursaries or anything. They wouldn't. They would just eat the money and fight each other and put you guys in war for years. Guerrilla wars are known in Africa and all that. So we grew up on our knees. If you know about prayer, you would understand what that means. It means that we trusted God. It means that for a very small operation, if you had a tumor or a headache or a flu, I have a flu now, you wouldn't be able to really not just afford the Panadol, but also to be able to access it. So affordability is one thing, but also access was something else. So for over the years, we seem as a continent to pray more than is actually expected or needed. As a Christian, if I say the word needed, someone might just get angry at me and say, Henry, you can't say that prayer is not needed. Jesus said we must pray always without ceasing. And I agree with you 100%. But I've gone through my scriptures and I'm looking at the amount of prayers that are made by saints, by prayer warriors, by kings, by prophets, by apostles, by Jesus himself. They are not long. Actually, Jesus in Matthew says that those people who pray longer prayers are people who are hypocrites, who want to show off of their prayer life. And I want to get to the point. You jump off to the next video. I know we are living in a generation of TikTok where videos must be 10 seconds long. I just want to take a bit of time to speak about prayer, and if you can, please you could just put this video on your countertop, on your study room, and just listen in. You don't even have to look at me because I'm just recording as I'm stuck on the road. I'm driving and there's a bit of a fire ahead of us, so the police is stopping the ongoing vehicles so that at least the one road can pass, and I guess then they're gonna clear us, which looks like just now in the next few seconds. So I will repeat, growing up in Africa, in Uganda, particularly in East Africa, we have prayer mountains. We have people who pray 40 days. I mean, me personally, I wouldn't have a problem praying for 40 days with fasting, only eating in the night, maybe going 18 hours without anything, without even water. I wouldn't have a problem, and I'm over 40 years old. But I don't do it anymore. It's not because I lack faith now, and it's not because I am not, what would you call it? I'm not as faithful as I used to be. But I've taken time to look at scriptures and look at prayer in general, come to this conclusion that I wanted to speak to you today. And the conclusion really is prayer answers all questions that a Christian could have. That is without question. Prayer is what God has given us. I mean, the mighty men of old, they stood by prayer and God answered. I'm reminded of stories of people like Hannah in the Bible who didn't have children and called upon God, and God answered, she got children. I'm reminded by people like Jacob, who was a thief, who was a conniver, but he sought God, and God answered, and his life changed. So it is clear that when you go on your knees, when you stand up, whatever position of prayer you choose, it is clear that God answers you. My question is, the amount of prayer that is prayed in Africa, the amount of prayer that is prayed in this continent, the amount of prayer that is prayed in churches. I have one of my best friends, a brother really, who comes from the DRC. And he comes from the southeast of DRC, Lubumbashi area. He told me a story that in the streets, every second or third building is a church. A Glory what church, Redeemed what church, High Praise what church. However, the DRC has one of the poorest communities in the world. When you go to South Sudan, a lot of East North Africa, look at poverty and look at malfunction and look at indiscipline, look at wars and look at famine, look at hunger and look at disease, look at just lack of functionality. Compare it to the amount of prayer we're doing, it doesn't seem to balance. So I want to end before I reach 10 minutes by saying, yes, you should pray. And I encourage you to pray more and more. But can I ask you to reduce the amount of time you pray? I love a quote which is by Charles Haddon Spurgeon. It is said of him, this is a guy who prayed for dead people to raise and they came back to life. You can check his books. This is in the 70s, not too far away that you can't even compare. Just early in life, in the 70s. But it is said of him that he could not pray for longer than 30 minutes. However, he could not go for 30 minutes without a prayer. So my encouragement this morning is take time and pray, however short the prayer is, but make it momentous, make it ultimate, make it something to go to. Pray now and again. Do not stop praying. However, reduce the amount of prayer you make in a single sitting. Make prayer your periodic life. Make prayer part of what you do every time. When you go into your car, say a prayer. When you start to cook, say a prayer. When you're going to do a project, start a prayer. But go straight to God. Be specific with God. What is it that you are trusting God for? Now, I'm going to drive about 4 hours, and I just ask God that, please, Lord, be specific and be direct with God. Don't beat around the bush.